Around, don't get caught in the mosh pit. Fuel to the fire, ain't nobody can stop it. Trouble in my city, but you know I'm across it. Got a 40 on my hip and I'm liable to spark it. Throw down these hits, my click is indivisible. I aim, you duck, I squeeze, now you invisible. I'm not afraid of getting physical. All these different chemicals are fogging up my visuals. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we notorious, we ain't no runners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we some warriors, they ain't called gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Put on my sweat, put on the beat, put on the map, put on my team. Take out every motherfucker in between. Know what I mean? Better myself, better my aim, better my rep, better my name. Killing rappers on my hang, I'm by their chains for the fame. Never thought I would, and now I'm running. You don't wanna follow me, now I'm looking for.
What's going on? What's going on? Welcome. Welcome, and happy Sunday. This your boy, Steve, the Kidney Nurse, and I'm back. It's been about 3-4 months, maybe 5 since I've done my podcast. I'm telling you, it's been a long month, a lot of work, boot TikTok trying to advocate, and you know more and more people are getting diagnosed with kidney disease. And you know it's Kidney Awareness Month, 2025. Same stuff, different year. Nothing's changed but the population. It's more people, and there's more people on the transplant list. Tonight, we got one of those warriors who was on the transplant list. In fact, she was on dialysis for 8 years. 8 years. And you may wonder, like, why she on dialysis for 8 years and then decide to get a transplant? Well, you're going to find out why tonight. Because you got some people, soon as they get on dialysis, they get on the transplant list. They don't want to be on no longer than they have to. And after 8 years of being on dialysis, our guest got a transplant and then stepped out on faith, like many other people try to do, and started her own peer support group foundation. So we're going to hear a story. I can't wait. Again, welcome to my TikTok guests, the 8 people we got, the 6 people we got watching right now. What's that, 14? But it's about getting that message out there, and we need more of these shows. We started doing this back in 2018. me, Lisa Baxter, my partner Tamika, who else? Jared Brown. We was doing this back in 2018. And the work doesn't stop. So with that being said, let me bring on my guest, Marsha Phyllis Parker, of the Parker Peer Kidney Support Group Foundation. Hey, Marsha, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing? I'm excited to be here with you today.
Thank you for coming. First, I want to say hello to Nikki 4010. Welcome, Nikki. Thank you for coming. And Sylvia Atkins, thank you. I appreciate both of y'all's support in coming over here. So, Marsha, wow, we finally got here after about a month of planning. We're finally here.
Yes, I'm excited.
Now, let me ask you, how did you find out about me?
I have been following you for probably about 2 years while I was on dialysis. So I had been following you, and I would watch you while I was at dialysis. I would watch the different videos, and sometimes I would stay up late at night and watch your shows at night.
Are you for real?
Yes.
You're not just saying that because you want here.
No, I literally said no. I've told other people about you.
Thank you so much for your support. I mean, that means a lot hearing that, because sometimes, I don't know who I'm reaching, and, you don't always see recognition, but it's not about recognition, but I always wonder if what I'm doing is in vain. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because you gave out a lot of information that I needed. So, yes.
Wow. So you mentioned that you were on dialysis for 8 years.
Right.
So can you share your initial diagnosis and what led to your need for dialysis?
I had always been a bad diabetic before that, before being diagnosed, and had high blood pressure. Gone to my primary doctor appointments every 6 months as usual. Never thought about trying to get tested, have them to test my kidneys. And they never tested my kidneys, never knew anything. I was diagnosed in 2015 because I started gaining a lot of fluid in my body. And I got to the point where I couldn't even wear my regular clothes anymore. I had to wear stretch pants to work, and I was a social worker. I had to wear stretch pants to work, and it got to the point where I had so much fluid on my body that the side of my leg, the skin was coming off, and the fluid was literally leaking out of my leg. I didn't have any blood coming out, and all you saw was flesh and fluid, like water fluid leaking out of my leg. And the doctor said that it was so much fluid they didn't have anywhere else to go but to leak out. So it leaked out of my leg. And from that point, that's when they diagnosed me as having 4th stage kidney failure. I skipped 1, 2, and 3 and went straight to 4th when I got diagnosed.
I want to apologize. Marcia is in a part of Georgia where they were impacted by tornadoes. So that's why you may see the internet interruption. And thank you for being here, because I know that I heard about the storms. I did a show last night on emergency preparedness. So thank you for coming on.
Right.
Okay, so you can go ahead and continue with your story.
So at that point they told me that the fluid didn't have no other choice but to leak out of my leg like that because it didn't have anywhere else to go. I ended up having myelitis on the side of my left foot. Had to get surgery for that, and I was bedbound for that in the hospital for about 2 weeks. Went in walking and came out, couldn't walk at all. Literally, could not walk at all. I had to learn how to walk all over again from just like a baby. It went through physical therapy for about a year and a half. From that point, ended up going blind for like 4 months. Ended up going blind, and
Wow.
I was going through a lot. Gastroparesis hit me hard. I was throwing up blood, buckets of hospital pans of blood every month. I was going in and out of the hospital. And I was just getting tired of being sick and tired. And one day it was a radio DJ personality who sat right beside me in dialysis. And he said, well, Miss Parker, he said, I think I'm going to go ahead and get this transplant. And I was like, well, what's that? I didn't know what a transplant was. They don't talk to you about what a transplant is or what it's the side effects or what it entails. They don't, all they say is, hey, have you thought about getting a transplant? But they don't promote anything about transplants in the center. So I told him, I said, well, nah, I'm good. And he said, well, why don't we do it together? And I said, because if you don't come back, I'm not doing it.
So let me
So
ask you this. Diabetes caused your kidney disease?
diabetes, yes, sir. Diabetes and the high blood pressure, both. Because I was
Okay.
a very bad diabetic. My blood sugars would be 400 and I would never know it. Didn't have any symptoms, nothing.
Wow. And
Yes.
wow. And so how soon were you diagnosed before you started dialysis?
Immediately. As soon as I got diagnosed in the hospital, they started dialysis on me like immediately. They went ahead and did the surgery, put the shunt, a catheter in that night, and they started dialysis with me immediately because of the wound that I had on my leg, the myelitis that I had on my other foot, and I was in really, really bad shape.
Wow. Wow. Now, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced during your 8 years doing dialysis?
The biggest challenge for me was going in sick. I mean, I would go in and come out really, really sick. Like I said, with the gastroparesis, throwing up the buckets of blood every month, going in and out of the hospital, not being able to walk, ending up on a walker, and it was dialysis takes a toll on your body, literally. My blood pressure would drop so low when I was on dialysis. I would get literally sick. I would throw up every time I had treatment. And I just got tired of being sick and tired. So I just said, okay, I got to go ahead. I got to do something about this.
Mm-hmm. And so during the 8 years, did you know about transplant or you were too sick to get a transplant?
I did not know anything about a transplant because they don't promote it at the dialysis unit. The doctors will ask you, have you ever thought about getting a transplant? But they don't promote transplant. They don't tell you what it's about, what it entails, the side effects, the different hospitals that offer. They don't tell you anything. You pretty much have to do the research on your own and advocate for yourself because they don't promote all of that.
So the doctor didn't
My
tell.
thing is that, I learned that dialysis is only supposed to be temporary. It's not supposed to be permanent. It's supposed to be just temporary till you can get a transplant, but they don't tell you that.
Yeah, well, some people, not everyone is, eligible for
Right.
transplant, unfortunately. Now, let me ask you this. During that 8 years, how did you cope with the physical and emotional demands of long-term dialysis? I mean, did you do home dialysis ever, or you just did
Um,
in-center? And how did you cope with that emotional demand?
After I got out of the hospital, they did place me on peritoneal dialysis at home. I tried that for a little while because I wanted to go back to work. but that was just really, really inconvenient for me trying to get on at a certain time and getting off at a time where it was time for me to go to work. And then having to do it 7 days a week was a toll. So I said, no, I just need to go in center. That way I can have some days free on, without dialysis, because it was just taking a toll on me. And then when I got on dialysis in center, emotionally, it was depressing. It's some things that you don't really tell your caregivers or your family about because you don't want them to worry about you. But it does have some times of depression, because when you're at home, you see the four walls. You feel like you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything because you have dialysis. And if you go out of town, you got to be able to have a chair, go to a clinic where they have a vacancy for a chair for you. And if they don't have a vacancy, you can't go anywhere. So you're really, really restricted. And then with the foods that you can and you cannot eat, and the fluids that you can and cannot drink, it was very, very restrictive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So very interesting. And so describe the process of getting on the transplant list and eventually receiving a kidney transplant. Like how after 8 years, how did you get to that point and say, okay, I want to get on the transplant list?
Well, like I said, my chair partner next to me wanted me to do it with him, and we do it together. And I was like, no, because if you don't come back, I'm not doing it. No, I said. So he came back. He had to get his kidney shot, which sometimes you do have to get your kidney shot, waking up after your transplant. So he came back for like 2 weeks, and he said, okay, Miss Parker, I'm here. I'm alive. And I was like, I don't know. I got to wait a couple more months. So I waited for a little while, and then I was still getting sick with the gastroparesis and still getting sick from the low blood pressures. And I said, okay, God, I had to talk with God and ask God, send me a sign that's saying I need to do this. And one day I just decided to go with the social worker, and I said, I want to go ahead and try for the transplant. So she signed me up for the Emory Hospital in Atlanta to get an evaluation. I got signed up in June of 2023. I got on the waiting list in August of 2023, and I got my kidney October 15th, 2023. I was at Albany State homecoming, my homecoming during that time when I got the call.
Did you get a pancreas with that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Just kidney.
But wow, wait a minute. So after 8 years, you signed up, and was it 6 months or so later after you signed up? About
from June to October.
How long did it take you to go through the process of getting evaluated?
Probably like 2 months. The whole process for me was 4 months, literally.
Mm-hmm. Describe that. Did you worry about maybe you may not pass any of the certain criteria?
I did. My first worry was because I couldn't walk. A lot of times they'll say, well, you need to be able to walk. You need to be able to get on the treadmill to take the stress test. And that was one of my worries. The other worry was because I had gastroparesis so bad and I would throw up a lot all the time. That was another worry, because I was worried about would I be able to consume the pills that I was taking and keeping them down with the gastroparesis.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. So you said you was at a football game?
I was at my alma mater, Albany State University homecoming.
So how did you feel when you found out a kidney was available for you? I mean, was you in shock? Share that.
Yes. My husband called. I was out there at the game, and my husband said, why aren't you answering your phone? And I said, well, how can I answer my phone? You hear music playing and the band going and everything. I couldn't hear the phone. He said, well, they just called to say they had a kidney for you. So he said, well, call her back. So I called back, And they said, well, we just want to let you know we have your kidney. Can you be here by 11 o'clock p.m.? And at the time it was 4 o'clock p.m. I said, well, I'll be there at 9 because my bags were already packed in the trunk. Because they tell you to have your bag packed once you get on the waiting list. So my bag was already packed in the trunk. My husband's bag was already packed in the trunk. And I was graced by God that he was home because he drives trucks. I was graced by God that he was home that weekend. So he was able to take me to Emory.
Wow.
And we got there around 9 o'clock, literally.
So what did you think? I mean, did you like look back and say, wow, 8 years, I go through the process, I get on the list, and then, you know what, less than 6 months or 6 months later, you get a call.
Right. Well, Steve, you know what? I knew I had God on my side. I knew it because he knew what I had been going through all those 8 years that my body was taking a toll on my body. I had been seeing people in and out of dialysis that came in after me that was walking in dialysis, and now they're W amputees now. And some of them even died. So I knew I needed to advocate for myself and go ahead and go forward and do this transplant to save my life so I can have a quality of life.
Right. And I probably asked you and missed this. So why after 8 years, why you didn't do this at year 5, year 4, year 6? Why year 8 you decided to get on the list?
Like I said, I didn't know anything about a transplant. They don't tell you anything. I literally did not know what transplant was.
Not even the other patients?
No.
Nobody talked about it?
No. Like I said, my chair partner talked about it.
I'm sorry?
The doctor will come around every now and then and ask you, have you ever thought about getting on the transplant? And I'm like, no. I would always say no, because I didn't know what it was. I don't like just stepping out like that. I didn't know what it was. No one came in and gave us education on what on transplant, on what a transplant is, and what the side effects, on what it entailed, and what you have to do. And no one did that. So now that I am,
that's why
I have my foundation. It does
now. So let me ask you, Marsha, what were the biggest changes you noticed in your life post-transplant?
Oh, God. I'm able to go wherever I want to go now with no restrictions. I can eat what I want to eat within reason. I can drink what I want to. I hadn't had orange juice in 8 years until the day after I had my transplant. And they asked me, they said, well, are you ready to have a full meal? I said, well, yeah, I think I am. And they was like, okay, we got the pancake, we got orange juice. I said, orange, I can have orange juice? And they was like, yeah, sure. I said, wow, that was a life changer there, because I loved orange juice before, but could never drink it. So that was a life changer.
Wow. Somebody, Nikki 4010 said, do you do Bella? I'm not sure what that means.
Yes, Bella is it's like they're like nutrition. It's a nutritional supplement that you take that has your vitamin B and your vitamin and your iron in it, and it's an IV infusion you get once a month after transplant.
Oh, okay.
And you have to take that for the rest of your life.
Okay, got you. Wow, that's something new I learned. Let me ask you, let's talk about your support system, because that's kind of like what your organization about, but who were your biggest sources of support during your time on dialysis?
My biggest form of support was my husband, my son, my mother, my sister were my biggest cheerleaders, as well as my best friends. I had a big support system. If I was sick, they were there. If they weren't there, my friends were there. My sorority sisters were there. They were there. I had a very big support system, even to the point where, like I said, my husband drives trucks, so I didn't know if somebody would be available during that time when I got that call. But my sorority sisters and my best friends say, hey, when you get that call, you let me know. We'll be there. We'll take you.
So let me ask you this: throughout that 8 years, how did your relationships with your family and friends change throughout that journey? Did you have some friends that came and went? Did you have some that was really there? How did that look like?
I didn't really have any change of friends during that time, but because my friends really stuck with me and stuck by my side. When I had that wound on the side of my leg and I was at work and it was leaking fluid, my co-workers, who are my friends as well, they said, no, you're going to the emergency room now. They took me, they dragged me to the emergency room, and they stayed with me the entire time until my family got there. So my friends never changed, actually. I really can say I have very, very good friends.
Wow. That's
And
awesome.
family.
You know, unfortunately, I've heard many stories of people say when they got stricken with this disease that their friends kind of abandoned them, stopped coming around.
No, my friends, that's one thing they didn't do. If anything, they came around more. If anything, they was always there for me. They cooked for me. If I came home sick, somebody was at my house to make sure I was okay. My mom would come over, my sister would come over, bring lunch or dinner or whatever. Yeah.
Wow. We have a comment, Sylvia Atkins. I was praying a lot, alone a lot, had to leave my functions a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, and it is.
It is.
It is. So, and speaking of that, let's get to starting a peer support group.
Right.
What inspired you to start a kidney peer support group?
I had always wanted to do this. It was a vision that I had while I was on dialysis. I said, I want to do something, because when I was on dialysis, I would always bring the patients treats and little gifts. We would do bingo at dialysis. So I would always bring the big gifts for the bingo games and the crossword puzzles to lift everybody's spirits, because when you're in dialysis, it's like, it's almost like the world has come to an end. You want to do something. You want to feel loved. And some people didn't get things like that. They didn't get trees. They didn't get gifts. So that was something that I did every year. I would do Mother's Day. I would do Father's Day gifts. I would do treats for Christmas. I would do things for Valentine's Day, just to lift their spirits. So that was a vision of mine. I said, I want to do something else. I want to bring more blessings to them. So I decided, I said, okay, God, show me how to do this. And that's what I decided to do, the Kidney Peer Support Group, because it was needed, because I am the only one in Southwest Georgia that's doing this. And now, it's very, very much needed.
And it is, because look, Irene Helmich, thank you so much for watching the broadcast and joining it, Irene. But just like I mentioned to you, Irene said, I wish I had a support system. My friends abandoned me because I can't do nothing, but I'm only stage 4 kidney failure. But I be tired all the time. And see, this is why groups such as yourself is needed to help individuals such as Irene, no matter where she's at.
Right, exactly. And my group is to educate in-center dialysis patients and home dialysis patients, as well as post-transplants, just to educate them, even if they're not eligible for a transplant, just to give them the education about dialysis. I'm not a doctor, not a nurse, but I give you the experience that I have. And the other peers that are in the group, they give the patients the experiences that they had while they're on dialysis as well. I
You
just
had
had
somebody say they want to join.
sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
Can you see the screen?
yes, sir.
No. Did
It's
you hear
froze.
me?
Okay, it froze.
Oh, okay. So continue.
So I had a patient that I just assisted to help him get his transplant in December, and he was on dialysis for 22 years. And he
Wow.
didn't decide to do it until I did it, and he saw where I was, I was doing well after the transplant, and he heard about my peer support group, so he started coming and saw the effects of it. So he said, I think I want to do, can you help me? And I said, sure, I will hold your hand from the beginning to the end. And that's exactly what I did.
So did he say why after 20-something years he decided to go now?
No, he was just like, well, his family always tried to get him to get the transplant, and he just didn't want to do it. He didn't think he was ready. He didn't think he was ready to do it, and that was going to be a big step for him. And he just wasn't into doing
See,
it.
that's where education is needed. And that's what I said. If you go to the clinic, if you don't ask, they're not going to tell you.
Right, exactly.
And so I just did a show on TikTok 2 days ago about profit over patients. Like dialysis centers, what incentive do they have if this is what they do and this is where they get their revenue? What benefit do they have other than the requirement from Medicare, because they have to do it to tell a person about a transplant? But when you come in clinics, you don't see no big poster board or something to say, have you ever thought about a transplant? Inquire here. It's always like they have to ask you. But it's nothing that's promoted.
Right. It's not promoted.
Treatment option.
No, it's not. And usually when I go out to promote my peer support group, I stand outside the dialysis clinic and I talk with them and I tell them my story. I give them my journey that I went through. And I'll tell them, I said, do you want a better quality of life? Because that's what it's going to do for you. It's going to give you a better quality of life.
So we had a question. What city is your support group in? From Nikki.
Albany, Georgia. I'm 3 hours from Atlanta.
But you do this online too, right?
I haven't started Zoom yet, but I am going to. I haven't started yet because I'm just starting to build up my support group now a little bit. So I am going to start a Zoom. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So you can reach people all across the world.
Right. Right. Exactly.
This is needed.
Yes, it is. It is.
I can't tell you, in some places where they can't even get transplant unless it's from a relative. That's in Kenya.
Oh, wow.
They do dialysis only twice a week. That's only what the National Health Service is going to pay for. They something like Medicare. They only going to pay for 2 treatments, 4 hours.
Oh,
each
wow.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's needed.
So,
I'll be speaking with the I'll be a guest speaker with the Georgia Transplant Foundation in June to talk about transplants as well, to get the information out. Because the information is very much needed down in Southwest Georgia and it's not getting out.
Yeah, Georgia has a high rate of kidney disease.
Right.
Really.
Exactly.
Wow.
It is.
Now, what are the main goals of your support group and how do you achieve them?
My main goal is to educate, empower, and advocate. Those were my main goals. And I do that through educational workshops. We have workshops. I bring in guest speakers. I just had 2 guest speakers last month from the YMCA to about staying fit and active and healthy. And the other guest speaker was the Link Life of Georgia. And they came in to talk with some of the caregivers about being donors for transplant recipients, getting in new donors to come in to be donors, live donors.
Okay. Wow.
Because I don't just cater to dialysis patients, but I also cater to the caregivers as well.
Okay. And I think you've done this. I was going to ask you, can you share a memorable story or moment from your time leading the support group? And you actually shared about the gentleman, you helping him get that transplant after 20 years. So what is he doing now?
Living his best life. Yes, he still comes to the support group though. He still comes in and advocates for transplants. Just
So
to let them know.
how long after he signed up to get his transplant did he get it?
I think he signed up back in April of last year, but he had some other health issues going on and they had to put it on hold from April until August. And then he got back on the waiting list in August and he got his transplant in December.
Wow.
Right. And this was at Emory as well.
So if y'all in Georgia, y'all need to be signing up at Emory. Seriously.
Yes. Wow. It was very quick. And the reason why they say is that the time that you're on dialysis is equivalent to the time that you're on the waiting list. So because he was on the dialysis for so many years, like over 20 years, they put him straight to the top of the list.
Oh, wow.
And that's how my situation was, because I had been on for 8 years. And they saw everything that was going on with me with the gastroparesis, and it was just breaking down my body. They decided to put me straight to the top of the list.
So there's been times where you've been at your unit. Have you seen people come and after you started and get transplants before you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But it was not as like it is now. I think when I was there, I may have seen maybe 1, 2 people at the most for during those little 8 years. But now they're rolling out now because they see my story and they hear my journey, and some of the members are coming to the support group and they're going back to tell their peers, hey, Miss Parker got her transplant. She's doing really well. Y'all need to come to the support group, get the education, get the information, because it's working, and we're gonna get our transplant too.
Mm-hmm. So, do you also recommend anybody in support group to get on multiple lists, like not just Emory, but other transplant centers as well?
I do. I don't just recommend Emory, but I tell them Emory, we have Piedmont, you have the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, we have Shane's Clinic in Gainesville. Those are usually the closest places in Augusta.
Yeah, that's right. Albany. I don't know, you ever heard of Thomasville?
Yes, I'm about 40 minutes from Thomasville.
Yeah, I know. I was down there doing a kind of like a seminar back in maybe 2018, 19, and met some people on social media that lived there. They he passed away, but yeah, I had an opportunity to come down and talk in Thomasville. Yeah, and then I did come up to Albany as well while I was.
Yeah, you would have had to come through Albany.
Yeah. So that is I don't know what I was thinking, but other people said that Birmingham. Have you heard of that in Alabama?
Birmingham, Alabama. Hmm.
Yeah, but that's on the other side of Atlanta.
It's like 4 hours from Albany.
Oh,
But
okay.
you have to be very careful because they only give you so many hours to get to the hospital.
Got you. Got
Right.
you.
I think with my situation, I had to be there within 6 hours.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Um, advice and insights. What advice would you give to someone who is about to start dialysis or is on the transplant list?
For someone that's starting dialysis, I would say advocate for yourself. I'm not saying don't listen to your doctors. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is to advocate for yourself, because the same way you walk into dialysis should be the same way you walk out of dialysis. You shouldn't be feeling weak or nauseous or things like that. You need to look at your blood pressure on that machine. I used to tell them, turn the machine around so I can see my numbers. Look at your numbers. Look at how you're feeling when those numbers get to a certain point. When you're cramping up, you look at their numbers and see where your numbers are. Um, Watch your dry weight. Move up and down. Your dry weight is always going to change. Watch your fluids. But advocate for yourself, because no one knows your body like you. They don't know your body, but you know your body. You know when you're going to get sick at what point. So advocate for yourself for that, as well as your transplant. If you know that, hey, I'm ready, I'm tired of going to dialysis 3 days a week. This is wearing on my body. This is wearing on my caregivers, having to take me back and forth. And I want to do something different.
Mm-hmm. I want to be like say what one of our co-hosts, her name Lisa Baxter. She has a show called Lisa Baxter. She always said, "You ain't never lied." Yeah. Hope she's watching this, but no, I agree with you 100% on being your own advocate, because
Yes.
when you start something like this, you got to learn all you can about
Oh,
what you're dealing with, and
yes.
that's just
Yes.
my opinion
Right.
from a charge nurse perspective, because
Mhm.
you just never know, and the more you know, the better you'll be off and making decisions.
And that's what I
Um,
liked about when I started watching your show. Is I said, okay, Steve said this. Let me turn this machine around. Let me look at this number. Okay, he said this about this, and this was this, and I started learning from you what to watch out for and what to look for on those machines, and what to look for when those nurses come around and want to put heparin in you and things like that. I learned that a lot from your show. I did.
Oh wow,
I
that's
did.
awesome, and I'm glad, really, because that is my intentions from the start is to educate, because
Right.
we don't get that opportunity to do that like we used to because of the nature of the business.
Right.
Um, Let me ask you, Miss Marsha, how can healthcare providers better support patients undergoing dialysis or awaiting transplant? This.
I think they can better help them by just being passionate and having some empathy for them. Because dialysis patients go through a lot. They walk in with a lot on their shoulders, and they walk out having to go back out there in that big wide world again with a lot on
Mhm.
their shoulders. So they just need to have more empathy with them, and know that, okay, this is a lot for us to have to carry. You don't have to carry this burden. I have to carry this burden. And this is my body that has gone through all these different changes. So sometimes I may not be in a good mood. And sometimes I may be sick and I don't feel like talking. Leave me alone for a minute. Just have that empathy.
Wow. Wow. And I said that. I don't know if you experienced at your unit where you were going, if y'all had any young workers there that,
Yeah.
you know, weren't compassionate. Because I always said, and I want to keep it at 100, that
Right.
these people nowadays, a lot of people don't, when they come in this field, don't have empathy, compassion, or any understanding.
No, they don't.
And so I didn't know if you experienced that
I
any
did.
during your journey on dialysis.
I experienced it on the latter end of it because the management changed, the text changed. We used to have actual veterans that had been there for a long time, and they were very passionate. I mean, I was a diabetic, and it's like soon as they felt like my sugars were going down, they had candy already on hand or something, or gave me a juice or something like that on hand. Nowadays, no, they don't
See,
do that.
you kind of confirm what I've been saying all along with that statement, because I said it's not, when people say, oh, DaVita is better, Fresenius or this clinic or that company, it's not the company, it's the people that work in the company. And like you said, when the people left and they changed, it's actually the people who work day in and day out on the front line. Those are the ones that make the difference, not the overall corporate establishment, because they're going to still institute their policies.
Right. And you have some people that are just there just to get a check.
And that's unfortunate. Yes, that is very unfortunate. I mean, it's like that with any occupation, but when you're dealing with people's lives.
Right. That's right. I mean, it's bad when you have, I've had situations where I've had somebody on the side of me that have almost just like passed out. And I'm like, y'all backs are turned. You can't see him. I'm like, hey, y'all need to come and check him because he's about to pass out.
Yeah.
Because your backs are turned and you're not watching him.
Yeah.
And in my unit, I can't say we were like a family. We took care of each other. When someone was missing, we asked questions because we knew that they could not tell us what was going on with somebody if somebody wasn't there. But we kept up with each other. We called each other and said, hey, we missed you at dialysis. What's going on? What happened? Things like that, because we just felt like nobody cared.
You know, and I can attest to people having their backs turned. I see it all the time. Unfortunately, in the clinic.
Right.
It's crazy. But let me ask you, what do you wish more people understood about living with kidney disease?
I think I wish they understand more about prevention and keeping your numbers stable, especially when you're a diabetic, and your blood pressure. I can't tell you how many times my blood pressure pills were changed, and I was like, listen, this is not working. I need something else. My blood pressure is still high, or this is not working. I got it to a point where they gave me a pill where it actually worked, and I've been on that pill ever since, where it actually worked. But like I said, it goes back to being advocating for yourself. When you know something is not working, don't wait till the last minute. Get on it, stay on it with the doctors, and say, "Hey, this is not working." But you have to keep yourself educated as well, and do what you're supposed to do. Make those doctor's appointments. Don't miss your doctor's appointments. Don't come off those treatments early. A lot of people get off the treatments early. I'm not going to do my full treatment today. I'm going to get off early. You can't do that. Stay on your treatment as much as you possibly can, because when it comes down to that transplant, those transplant doctors look at that when they evaluate you, because they're going to say, she's been missing too many treatments. No, we're going to put her back down on the list.
Now, let me ask you before I move on to my next question. Can anyone join your support group? Do they have to be on the transplant list?
No, no, no. My support group is open to dialysis patients either in the center or whether they're doing at home dialysis or transplant patients, post transplant patients, caregivers. They all, either one, they all come because the caregivers have to take care of the dialysis patients. So they need that education as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
What are your hopes for the future of kidney disease treatment and patient support?
My hope is just to give people education on kidney disease before you even get to that point. Giving you education about diabetes and hypertension, because those are the main factors of why people get on dialysis anyway, because it really hits a lot in the Black community. So to give that prevention, educate people on chronic kidney disease, letting them know the stages of it, and staying on your doctors, staying just advocating, just staying on those doctors. Because, like I said, when I got diagnosed, I was going to the doctors every 6 months. My doctor never told me that I was going in kidney failure. Never told me that. So get your kidney tests done. If you are, especially if you are diabetic and have high blood pressure, make sure you get those kidney tests done.
Yeah, hey, in my videos, even on TikTok, I say it all the time. Get checked for kidney disease. Get checked
Yes.
because you have millions of people walking around with undiagnosed diabetes,
Don't even
undiagnosed hypertension, and those are the two leading causes of kidney disease, kidney failure. Will
right.
everyone with diabetes or hypertension be on dialysis? No, but you got to remember they're the two leading causes of this
Right.
disease, and it's least talked about.
Right.
It's
And
least.
I don't know if it's a thing, but I know like at my unit, we had like 25 chairs. There were only 3 women in the unit, including myself. 3. The rest were Black men. Black
How
men.
many chairs did you have?
25.
25 chairs.
Mhm.
Wow. Let me ask you, Marsha, do you have any plans to expand or evolve your peer support group?
I do have plans in the future to expand once I get my team together. Since I'm just starting out, I want to start small right now because I think it's better when you have a smaller unit because they have a tendency to talk and give you more feedback when you're in a smaller group rather than in a big group where they don't want to share information in a big group. So I have been doing 2 groups. I've been doing a group for a Monday, Wednesday, Friday group, and then I was doing a group for Tuesday, Thursday,
Oh,
Saturday.
that's a good idea. Wow. Okay.
But then I had to change that recently because it was conflicting because on their off days, they were going to their doctor's appointments. So now what I do it once a month. We do it on a Sunday at 3:00. So that way, no one has doctor's appointments. No one has dialysis. You get to go to church, come back, get you something to eat, and be educated after that.
Mm-hmm. You
So
ever decided to do it more often, like twice a month? Maybe somebody may like, I got to see you again. No,
well,
but you ever thought about that?
no, I thought about it, but then that's when I was going to incorporate the Zoom for that part. Do one Zoom call a month and then do the in person a month. So if you miss the in
Oh,
person,
okay, that's right.
you will be able to come to the Zoom portion.
Oh, that's right. You do this. What you do now is in person.
Yes.
Okay, okay. But yeah, you got to do the Zoom because there's many people I'm sure that want to share their story and get to know other people in the Zoom setting.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
And that's coming soon.
Hmm.
I said that's coming soon.
Oh, good, because we
Yes.
need it seriously. We,
Yes.
as I see on TikTok, and I know you be on that platform as well. There's many people starting to create different platforms for
Right.
kidney
Mhm.
disease, and
Right.
it's great to see that.
Right.
The information is finally starting to get out there, and a lot of these comments that you see, people are
Hmm.
sharing that either their loved one is dealing with this or
Hmm.
even themselves. And
Right.
again, it's about education. So
Right.
if someone finds out before it's too late, they can
Right.
stop that progression.
Right. Because believe it or not, and I was a social worker, I worked with the elderly and disabled for 20 something years and never heard of chronic kidney disease before. Never.
Mm,
And
wow.
sometimes you don't hear about it till it affects you or a loved one.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Come knocking on the door.
Right.
Um, we're pretty much almost down to the end of the show. And my last question, or there's two, far as reflections. Looking back, how do you think your experiences has shaped who you are today?
It has shaped me as far as being a stronger person and having empathy to others that are going through. It makes me want to help them more, even the more, because I know what I went through. And no one knows what a kidney patient or dialysis patient goes through except another dialysis patient.
Mm-hmm.
So they know the journey. They know you know the journey because you've been through it yourself. So it's just a blessing for me to be able to go out and do this pretty much on my own, out of my own pocket, because I don't get any funding. I do ask for donations because everything comes out of my pocket, and not But this was my vision. This is what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Hey, you're not alone, because when I started my organization back in 2014, I'm gonna be honest with you, everything came out of my pocket and a
Hmm.
lot out of my school check. So,
Right, right.
because I try to tell people, when it comes to kidney disease
Hmm.
or somebody getting on dialysis, life doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.
Life, I mean, you still got to pay bills. The car still breaks down. The
That's
water
it.
heater may go out. This may
Yeah.
happen. That may happen. And and people who may not dealing with this disease and not able to go back to work yet, that still got to be paid.
Right, exactly. Your life.
And some of these foundations, they don't give. I don't know. I'm not going to get on the spiel about these foundations because they make you go, through an act of Congress to get what little money that they give you,
Hmm.
and they bringing in millions.
Right, right.
So, but and what was my last question? Is there anything you have done differently on your? I'm sorry. Is there anything you would have done differently on this journey, looking back?
Yes, I probably would have probably tried to get a kidney way earlier before 8 years. I probably would have did it as soon as I got on dialysis, but like I said, I didn't know anything about that. And that's what I'm trying to do now is to educate people to, hey, as soon as you get on dialysis, you need to go ahead and enroll and try to get a transplant.
And I
The
even
earlier
take
the
it.
better.
Yeah, I even take it a step further and say, if you know that your condition is heading down that way, and
Right.
you're in some places they require you to be below a certain percentage,
Right.
And even before you get on dialysis, you can do something called preemptive
Mm-hmm.
transplant, where you can get on the list or try to get a transplant before even getting on dialysis. And they don't
Right.
tell a lot of people
They
about
don't.
that. So
But you know,
as
a lot of
we,
people don't get. But a lot of people don't get on dialysis until, I mean,
it's
it's
too
at the
late.
last point, that last stage.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
with my situation, I didn't even know. Didn't have any symptoms until like that last point where that fluid was building up in my body so much, where they had
Mhm.
to immediately do dialysis.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's how it happens for many people.
Right.
Yeah. But if you're not in that situation and your doctor is telling you that your function is declining, then you think you may want to get a transplant, which is another treatment option.
Right.
Ask your provider,
Right.
are you a good candidate to get on the
Right.
list? Again, it's called preemptive transplant.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Ms. Marsha, as we come to a close, is there any last words you would like to leave with the audience pertaining to uh, your support peer group or
Mm-hmm.
any other thing concerning transplant? This is a good
The
time.
one thing I guess I would just leave out is to say, don't be scared. You're not alone. We've all been in this process. You're not alone. There are others. Um, don't be afraid to ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Ask questions. Ask questions with your nephrologist, your primary doctor. Ask questions because that's where you're going to get your answers from. Ask questions and be your own advocate. When you're in those dialysis chairs, please, please look at those numbers. Look at your blood pressure. Look at your ratio. Look at your dry weight. Look at all those things and ask questions of the text. Ask them. That's why they're there. Ask them questions. Hey, what are you doing? What are you putting in me? What is this? What is that? Ask questions.
Mm, that's some great advice, really, because the more you know, the better you'll be in understanding uh,
Right.
your treatment. So,
Yes.
well, wow, it's been an hour. It went by so fast.
All right. Okay.
So,
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on. I really do. I thank you for that because
oh,
that's what my vision is, to get the word out.
oh, absolutely. Thank you for joining me and wish you
Yes.
the best of luck down in
Thank
this
you.
weather. And again, how can someone get in contact with you if they want to join your group, or when you decide to kind of go national or international? How would they be able to reach out to see if
You
you're
can
doing the
reach
group?
me at 229-234-7092,
Oh, hold on.
or
Let me throw that again. 229.
234
Uh-huh.
7092, or you can email me at MARSHAPPER
Wait a minute.
at gmail.com. And you can call me, even if you're not in my support group. I will answer your questions. I have no problem with answering your questions, or even giving you, some information about my journey.
All right, let me add this and tell me if this is correct information.
Okay. Marsha P. Parker at gmail.com. Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
229-234-7092.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good, good, good. So if anyone's interested, you're watching the show out there, if you want to reach Marsha, the number's up 229. This is for TikTok as well. 229-234-7092, or Marsha, APP. apparker@gmail.com. That's MarshApparker@gmail.com.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Marsha, thank you so much for coming
You're
on.
so
And
welcome. You're so
again,
welcome.
wishing you the best of luck. And
Thank you.
I'll definitely be talking with you soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
take care.
All right.
All right, bye-bye. So this was a great show. Again, I just came back after about 4 or 5 months hiatus, and I'm great to see the support that came on. Had about 8 people, 9 at the top 10, and that was wonderful to see that many support. Because sometimes, again, when it comes to talking about kidney disease or anything that's centered around it, it's not talked about. And now I'm ready to come back. And if anybody wants to come on the podcast and share their journey, their hopes and strengths, so someone else can see who may be starting this journey as well. And one more thing, let me share. Marsha talked about family support. And we still have her information up here if you want it. That's why I wrote my newest and latest book, Navigating the Dialysis Journey, a guide for families. So your loved one can be right beside you during this journey, right beside you. They may feel like they're not getting the information from the unit. They may have a lot of questions and no one telling them the information. That's why I wrote this book from a nurse perspective. You can get this on my site, SteveTheKidneyNurse.com. Again, Navigating the Dialysis Journey, a guide for families. And with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone who came. Sylvia Atkins, Nikki 4010, Sophia Davis, Mariah Israel, and who else? It was someone else, a couple more people. Irene was here. Yeah, Irene Helmich. And then I got the rest. So, yep. So thank you everyone for watching. Hope to see you again. Be on the watch for more upcoming new shows. And again, if you want to come on the podcast and share your journey, hit me up at SteveTheKidneyNurse.com or my email, SteveTheKidneyNurse, as many people have, at gmail.com. And with that being said, again, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. We'll see you soon. God bless you and have a great night. I'm going to switch over to TikTok for a while. So if you're on here and you want to switch back over to TikTok, that's where I'll be. Until then, we see you later. God bless you. And have a good night. Peace.
Warriors around, don't get caught in the mosh pit. Fuel to the fire, ain't nobody can stop it. Trouble in my city, but you know I'm across it. Got a 40 on my hip and I'm liable to spark it. Throw down these hits, my click is indivisible. I aim, you duck, I squeeze, now you invisible. I'm not afraid of getting physical. All these different chemicals are fogging up my visuals. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we notorious, we ain't no runners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Yo, we some warriors, they ain't called gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Bloods on my hands, got slugs on my gunners. Put on my sweat, put on the beat, put on the map, put on my team. Take out every motherfucker in between, know what I mean? Better myself, better my aim, better my rap, better my name. Killing rappers on my hang, I'm by they chains for the fame. Never thought I would it, now I'm running. You don't wanna follow me, I'm